What's up, everybody? We are live. This is Tablebreakers, episode 31. We're going to be picking up where we left off last week with the 7 plots. Jade has reworked our little framework a little bit, so I will let him take it away.
So yes, welcome back to Tablebreakers. Today is week 2 of the 7 basic plots. To go over some of what we did last time, the 7 basic plots are as such. Any type of plot that has the protagonist overcoming a monster. The plot quest, or the quest plot rather, where the protagonist has to go on a quest to achieve the story. Then you have 2 of them that we're going to talk about tonight, the Rags to Riches plot line and the Voyage and Return. These 2 are most notable in viewings of either Book of the Hobbit for Voyage and Return and Cinderella, 2 stories that many people know quite well. So let's dive right into the first one, Rags to Riches. This is a plot type where the protagonist goes from having nothing to having everything, losing it all, and having to earn it all again. Another variant of this would be The Prince and the Pauper. Elements of this plot type include the dire straits, where the protagonist finds himself in a situation where they have nothing, or at least next to nothing, and must find a way to survive in their current situation. Oftentimes, the protagonist also has to face off against some kind of oppressive force or adversarial force, and have to overcome that in their life, in their day-to-day. Then they hit enrichment. And what enrichment is, it's up to the individual, telling the story. But enrichment is, at some point, the protagonist will gain some kind of windfall, whether they gain power, resources, or admiration of others. But it's not to last because it was gained through sometimes not permanent means. Then comes the fall. This is due to either pre-planned circumstances outside of the purview of control of the protagonist, where they lose everything and become an outcast and or are returned to living with nothing. Then comes the climb. The climb is where the protagonist has hit rock bottom and decides that they are going to go get everything they once had all over again, earning it the hard way, in many cases. So, let's dive right in. Tonight we are joined with the Cigar DM, Shadow and Sun, Baron G-Rock, and Kai, and Bruce is on his way. So, who would like to field this topic first? What plot elements or themes can you think of or offer other GMs as advice on how to use the Rags to Riches plot type? Don't everyone jump on this grenade at once.
Well, how about the Rags to Riches?
Right. Sorry, I just do my usual stop, so no.
All right, Rags to Riches. Riches.
Sounds like Shadow's having some sound problems, it looks like.
Can you hear me, guys?
Now we can.
And now.
Okay. I think something was up against my mic or speakers. It seems to me that you would you probably wouldn't want to start with some of the higher, like Soch characters, paladins, knights, things like that, because then it's riches to rags to riches again. Maybe starting with, your thieves, your assassins, your barbarians, maybe your average fighters. Yeah, Annie, that's a good one. I should have brought my phone up here so I could follow the chat. I've only got one device to do that with. And, start from there, obviously, and then go to a point where they acquire, treasure. Maybe even they, actually, as Kai may be familiar with, they kill the dragon, they get the big old pile of treasure, and then whether it's the king's taxes, a band of orcs, or something else, just takes it all. Right? That's what we're looking at, something like that.
That's one way of doing it.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you've got all kinds of different ways of getting it back, depending, I suppose, on the profession. If it's a thief, they're obviously going to find a way into the vault and get all their McScrooge winnings back. And depending on if it was somebody who's less morally ambiguous, they're gonna have to come up with a really ingenious scheme, something like like we were talking about the Count of Monte Cristo, and go some sort of really involved Ocean's 11 kind of way to get it back without falling into straight up thievery. Like I said, unless they already are a thief. I really haven't actually run too many things like this. I normally don't, as a dungeon master, swipe treasures like that. I may swipe someone's prized weapon or staff or magic, really powerful magic item, but actually taking away the entire, kit and caboodle, the whole hoard, I'm more likely to just tax the heck out of them, but leave them with more or less their fair share. Have you guys ever as dungeon masters actually done this sort of storyline? Hey, Max, you've done it.
I've done it.
Yeah.
Done it a little bit.
Go ahead before I go on to this topic.
I mean, like the whole kit, and just take it all.
Okay. I was doing my kid. I'm a part-time parent when it comes to the boys, but this was about 2 or 3 years ago. They were running a one shot, and I did not know what to turn into a campaign. And Maggie was reading Jack and the Beanstalk at school.
Okay.
And everything to run a Jack and the Beanstalk style campaign is already in 5e. You have the bag of magical beans. You have giants. So I basically set it up like Jack and the Beanstalk. But instead of them killing the giant and making off with the golden harp and treasure, they couldn't get away from the giant, so they had to give back all the giants' wealth.
Okay.
And then they had to go back down the beanstalk and go get real jobs, was more or less what it came down to.
Okay.
I was in a weird mood that night. But yes, I have done, more of a morality RP session than we're going to go kill somebody, take their loot, and get away with this.
I think this one's kind of a toughie when it comes to, really doing that. I've just never had the heart to just, literally take everything away from them. It's easier to just, for me to take that one thing that's more important to them than anything else in the world, their holy sword, their staff of the Magi, their Efreeti bottle, which I've done many times, because that's just too dangerous. Speaking of which, have you guys ever run into people who've gotten a genie ring or an Efreeti bottle, and then they hand it off to the rest of the party after taking one wish, and then they just really try to milk that? Yeah.
I've got a wish from a genie, and I screwed over the rest of the party. Ask that guy.
No, I mean, literally, make one wish, then give the ring to somebody else, and then let them take a wish, and then let them take a wish, until you've gotten more than just 3 wishes from said genie or Efreet, and really made a lifelong enemy, to say the least.
I mean, okay, really 2 things. On that one, yes, I definitely have, and I know, Jake, you have too. But what do we consider riches? Are we talking about physical wealth, or are we talking about the love of your life?
Anything that the protagonist values that they gained through windfall is taken away, and then they have to go earn it back. So whatever they value, be it wealth, be it power, be it the affection of another, whatever that might be, if it was achieved through windfall or through extra means, they are eventually going to lose it and have to earn it back. That's what a rags to riches is.
Right.
Okay.
I really couldn't see myself actually doing that, and having my players, for the most part, come back to the table. To be brutally honest, this one seems a little adversarial. It's one thing to throw your party in jail and take all their stuff away. That one's kind of old hat. They know they escape the jail somehow and just look around, and eventually they find their stuff. But to just oh, here you go, and now I'm taking it back. That just, to me, that sounds like a very dangerous game. Without actually literally telling them beforehand, now you're gonna have to try to get it back. I don't see that working. I really think that's.
I will agree with you. If done incorrectly, that is exactly how it goes.
And I don't even think I could do it correctly without really alienating friends or strangers at a game table, regulars, new acquaintances, anything like that. I honestly, I thought about this one for a while, and I just, I've had my gaming group for 20 plus years, and I don't even know how I would do it and get away with it.
Well, the thing is you've already done it partially. Because you said you've done it partially, taking away a staff of the Magi.
Right. Yeah.
But so it doesn't have to be this huge, I'm taking all of their stuff. They could have found this. Well, for instance, they could have found this locket or something by complete accident, and they got knocked out. Somebody stole it from them. Now they have to go get it back because that locket is now part of how to get rid of XYZ in your storyline. It doesn't have to be like they all lose everything. It could be.
If I'm knocking them out like that, chances are my NPCs would see no reason to let them live. If I can knock them out, they're not getting back up. That's too dangerous. Unless they're really low level, or not really low level, but under 9th level, and don't exactly have a perfect way to track said individuals or individual down to recover said item. It's just too easy to just double tap. They're gone.
Well, but
and I think they would. I've met a lot of players that would prefer that. If you're going to take it, just kill me. Fortunately, it's been a while, but I know there's a lot of people out there that will, rather die than be captured. Straight up, just kill me. I don't want to do the escape from jail. My honor's too important. Blah blah blah. Just kill me because, I'm fighting to the death.
Kai, you look like you want to jump in on this.
For a way, yes, I kind of do, but I think we've been kind of running around this in the way of we're going after the players, and honestly, yeah, you do want to go after them, but I always found the rags to riches aspect of we always play the first half of rags to riches. We always the rags part, and we always get to that certain part, but most of us get that confrontational mentality that we're like, I'm going to take away your personal item, your holy avenger, your badass staff. I'm one who more goes, because I encourage my players to develop relationships with NPCs, friendships, loved ones, family members, a community, a base. They create towns. And suddenly I now have the ability to steal from them, from their banks, blow up, I burn down their villages from raiders. murder loved ones through assassinations. I will take not the personal item. I might take some of their fluid cash, but that personal gear, I'm not stealing that part. I'm here to burn down everything else you care about. I want to reduce you to, yeah, you're back down to rags. Sure, you're not wearing rags, but your support base is gone. You have no allies because they're murdered or scattered, and you have to go out there and re-hunt down and reestablish yourself. And like a case of a video game that's really, really good that for this is, say, Final Fantasy VI. You build your way up, and then the whole game resets on you halfway through. And so therefore, your players could be the biggest heroes, and then you wreck the world around them. They still are heroes. They're still geared for it. They don't feel like you've robbed them of their personal power, but you've robbed them of everything else. And you've now given them that fiery desire to look at themselves, hopefully, and go, do I care about my loved ones? Do I care about my allies? Do I care about my friends? Do I care about the wealth? Some players might go, money I can always earn back. After all, I earned, stabbed, and stole it. I still have something left I can rebuild. While other players will go, I'm going to hunt them down with a passion that will make Liam Neeson feel proud. Like I want players to go, I feel motivated to go out there and murder them. And at that point, I don't need to fight you. I just need to, you know what? And if part of it ends up in, you end up in jail 10 years later, your friends are all sitting here going, hey, you're back out, right? Yeah. What do you want to do? Hit the guy who put me in jail. And now you got an Ocean's 11 plot line. And the whole point is to get wealthy again. Have fun. And what was that? No. I don't want to hurt. I want my players to be reduced to rags again, and work to be rich again. I didn't know that was eternal jobs, but. And what was John Wick's motivation? You kill his dog, and he's going to kick your ass down. That's just revenge.
Yep,
That's just your
pretty
revenge,
much.
man.
Baron, what were you going to say?
Well, the thing is that if the players are not wanting to, be captured, have their stuff taken, losing stuff, it happens when you're adventuring. That's the whole thing. It's going to legitimately, you're going to have, maybe it's a level 20 guy, a 20th level caster that empowered sleep on them at 9th level and knocked them all out, and they took their stuff. You never know what's going to happen. And truthfully, that the way that it's handled does not fall back onto the players. It falls back onto the DM and how the story is crafted for them. So that is the biggest part of it. Is you're as a DM, you're limited by your own imagination.
But why would a wizard not kill them after he's taken their stuff, or just kill them then take their stuff?
Because he's not a sociopath.
Yeah, he just wanted the amulet. That he doesn't.
I thought you could literally strip them down of anything that glowed.
Yeah. Take the stuff that glowed and fucked off with it.
Maybe the wizard's not a murderer. Maybe the wizard has a conscience or is a pacifist at heart, and he goes, "Hey, I need that item that you have, and you're not willing to give it to me because you find it useful, but you don't know the dangers of it. So I'm going to knock you out and take that item off your person to go dispose of it safely." That would be a wizard going, "I don't want to kill you. I just want to put that thing back in the box where it belongs."
Or I want to unlock the box and use it for X reasons. I get where you're coming from, Shadow. I really do, but I understand where just because you knock somebody out to take their shit does, robbery is a crime with jail time. Murder on top of that, that's more time. That's not time I'm willing to give.
Fireball, there's nothing left of them. Take their stuff, disintegrate.
Okay, the thing is that
most of my players would just look at it as a shitty thing that I did, and I left them alive so they could suffer.
Okay, so I'm going to go into
we are playing a game, and they're going to, albeit there are probably a lot of people who would be fine with having to go try to get back their stuff, but not everybody.
Not every plot's going to work for every table. That's
right. No, it won't. And that's the other thing. That's why we're kind of. I wanted to bring up the 7 basic plots to begin with. Was not every plot works for every table. Not every plot works for every GM. But you might have some game masters out there who go, hey, how do I use this plot type? And that's why I wanted to bring this discussion up, is because, oftentimes I'll find myself going, hey, I really want to run a tragedy story. And I'll think about all the things that make a tragedy really good. And then I'll run that. In this one, these two, Rags to Riches and the Journey and Return. Journey and Return, everyone knows that plot line. That's the Hobbit. That's any grand
Odyssey.
epic, like the Odyssey. But not everyone does a Rags to Riches style story. One element that I use as Rags to Riches is I had a party that was really on the righteous path. This was not Wrath of the Righteous, Cigar. This was a different story. But they were all like divinely inspired, and they had their own religions and whatnot, and they were all doing the work of their gods. One of the characters decided they were going to attack an unarmed being. They were a paladin. Actually, they were in a combat, and one of the enemies threw their weapon down, like, nope, I'm done. And he went to attack them anyway. The moment he swung, he lost every bit of his paladin powers.
As he should.
Because
it depends. Well, it depends. I mean, was he trying to knock him out or kill him?
Nope. He was going for the kill against an unarmed foe.
Absolutely.
Against a person who threw down the weapons saying, I'm no longer a combatant, and he went for the kill. So the player lost all paladin powers. Now, a lot of, I want to say younger, and I don't want that to be offensive to anyone, but a lot of younger players will get up from the table and say, this is bullshit, and leave. And you know what? That's fine. Tempers get hot when they, lose things. Kai over here, he gets hot and bothered when the GM takes his gear, his treasure away. I get it. But when the character broke that code of ethics to attack a unarmed NPC now that was a combatant, but now is not, he lost all his paladin powers. He had to then go get an atonement and start to try to earn the respect or his trust back with his god because he broke the oath. So that is another example of Rags to Riches. A paladin, cleric, any divinely inspired or pathed player can lose everything. They can lose the favor of their god by acting in a way that their god does not promote or absolutely hates. And if they do so, they should lose everything. Because their god is now displeased with them. Because they've lost favor. Now, they've hit rock bottom. They have nowhere lower to go except to maybe an evil god or an opposing god out of spite. But then there's the climb again. They now have to climb back up through the power of whatever god they might be. What if they go to out of spite to the evil god?
I think the former deity would snuff you out if you ever did that. They have the power.
Yeah,
they're well within their right.
They would send agents against you for sure.
As soon as the player character said, "Okay, I'm going to start worshiping my god's enemy," and say, "Well, make a new character because you're dead." I wouldn't. It would no. It would not go a second further than that.
See, this is why I kind of like the idea of having very, very powerful pantheons. The moment that, like, because if you're a paladin, you're a god of goody two shoe bullshit, and really you are. You're worshiping that, and it's
Hey now,
he's not going to sit there and smash your face in for rebelling. Mostly because the moment that you switch and you go, I'm joining the forces of that, I guarantee you there's a dark god who will sit there and go, I have the same level of deity powers as you do, and boom, go ahead and try. And now, and your lawful good god might be going, well, now I gotta send agents, much like how the paladin was the agent of the good god, to go and redeem / murder this, because you gotta realize paladin, like, yeah, I am wrong, but I'm not right either. But I also have this mentality of dark god, like, you're playing now a grand game of chess with deities, and if the evil god goes, I don't care, and lets you die, well, again, congrats, you made the wrong choice. But if the evil god cares enough and goes, yeah, I'll take this tool, because this tool is ruining all my plans up until that moment, yeah, I'm not throwing a tool away. And now you gotta, and well, was it the evil god that I was wanting? No. A different evil god goes, no. I'm actually lawful evil and have plans for you. Go and do my will, and push them out the door, and have some fun. I mean, then again, that's also because I also have like this horrifying. Someday I'll graph it out, and it'll be a monstrous, heaven's confusing. Congratulations, it's a mess. So that's just my mentality. Sorry.
Here's the thing. Well, okay, if I'm playing a paladin, let's continue on the paladin thought. And you start off humble, and as things change, paladins should only be played by people that understand the concept of paladin or follow a god that they get. They really do get. Me, I'd be a Saint Cuthbert, because Saint Cuthbert's not going to come down and punish me for killing an evildoer, even if he does not have a weapon. Scourge the earth is his motto. Weapon or not, scourge the earth. But if you're playing a paladin who is of the more nobler deity, yeah, the riches that you build in self-respect and honor and your gear should be taken away, and you should have to do what is right to get them back. So in a roundabout way, I can see that being a rags to riches, only with honor, respect, and holy gear. But I will never, if I play a paladin, it's St. Cuthbert. I'm cool with this.
It'll be a cold day in hell when you play a paladin. Sorry.
yeah, I don't think that. I think paladins are misconstrued throughout the different games out there. I think they really have to abide by. It's more than just your particular god's mentality, because yeah, I don't think that every god literally has paladins. I don't think it works that way. There's this whole chivalry and code of honor and ethics that some gods just don't have. Therefore, I don't think it would work. I suppose it could if you're talking like Zeus or something like that, who's so far above, like the king of the gods kind of thing, where he can he can lie, cheat, and steal, but still at the same time manipulate anybody, period, because he's the top of the food chain. But I think some of the lesser mid-range gods really, a chaotic evil god should not have a paladin. You can have an anti-paladin, but not an actual technical dyed-in-the-wool actual paladin. I think I think it just doesn't work that way. Even a chaotic good god, you know, I think that'd be pushing it.
Definitely
Like,
from second edition, I would say you are probably spot on with that with second edition, first edition rules of paladins. Actually, no, there were no paladins in first edition, were there?
oh, absolutely, there were.
There were.
Oh, absolutely.
It's been so long since I touched first edition.
Yeah.
So very,
You got to
very long.
remember that for the most part, everything, all the basics come from advanced Dungeons and Dragons, other than your 4 food groups, as I call them: fighter, cleric, wizard, thief. All the other things really started in advance. Paladins, rangers, um, assassins, monks, bards, all that really. I could be wrong about maybe Beckme, because I'm not an expert on that. Never actually ran it or played it, but as far as I know, basic and the earlier renditions really didn't have paladins and bards and druids and things like that. But I could be off, but not by much.
Yeah, I'm
Another
going to
method you could
agree.
use. Go ahead.
I'm going to agree with Bruce here. Look at Johnny Depp. Yeah, he had everything taken away from him, all of his integrity, everything else stripped away from him, and it was basically given back to him by a jury, uh, and a $15 million check. But still, that truthfully, that is a rags to riches story right there that are just played out in real life.
If we also
Sure, but I don't actually give a fuck.
It was a
they're
comment
Hollywood
from the
stars,
chat.
and the list of Hollywood celebrities that I actually concern myself with gets smaller every single day, and vast swaths of them can pretty much hold hands with Dan.
You were gonna say, Kai?
I was going to say, going back to role playing and gaming, if you want to get away from, say, the classic Dungeons and Dragons Pathfinder only universe, which is where you can start to broaden your horizons on what you can consider good. Every game of Exalted you ever play in the Age of Sorrow is going to be a rags riches game if you're playing a Solar. You are a reborn soul of a hero born in the Age of Sorrow, looking at the ruins of your former self, your former life, and you're looking at people who are scrounging around in the ashes, using fragments of what was once you and your kind, who had once built a glorious empire, and now you're being hunted for merely being reborn. And you have to sit there and go, I'm a nobody, or God, when I was reawoken by the celestial bureaucracy to be powerful again, and now wandering around, and you got to figure out how to survive and rebuild. And if you're playing a Solar right, you are a paladin, but you can be a good paladin, an evil paladin, a corrupt paladin. You can be as good or evil, and you all are bearing the ultimate, the great curse that eventually your passions will overwhelm you, and you will become that which you hate most, and you will be fighting it eternally. And you're just trying this eternal balancing act between giving into your own nature, and everyone's got this. You're all working towards this amazing point, and it's something different. You can look at it in a way that's a little bit more than just the traditional. And not every paladin has to be simply the guy in knight in shining armor garbage. There's one book series I read where one of the most powerful characters in it was a paladin, but he slummed it. He didn't advertise he was a paladin. He literally wandered around as a horrible, dirty hobo and infiltrated evil organizations and took them down from the inside. And he was literally ticked off when somebody, burnt his cover, and he had to actually come out and be, well, shoot, now I'm actually a paladin. And everyone goes, oh, so you're a big good guy? He goes like, no, I literally purge evil. But you're supposed to, and he's like, I don't care about any of your ethics. My job is to destroy evil. What do you want me to be? Someone inspirational? Murdering evil, sorry. And then wanders off. And you're like, you going to come back and be a good guy? No, see ya. And
he's not a paladin.
No, but he's keeping up his. He never lies, never cheats, never steals, never kills, never harms an innocent, never murders murders anyone who doesn't deserve it. He hunts down evil. He won't associate with evil. He is following every single tenet, but he's not being a beacon of good, wearing shiny plate and being out there. He's literally walks up in the shadows, stabs the evil villain, and he does confront the evil villain, gives him a chance to repent, but then murders and goes, my job here is done, and then moves off and I have to go take care of the next evil. You don't always have to have, no, he literally is the avenging angel. He was that character who wandered around and murdered people. I'm okay.
The Punisher. No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. I'm sorry I cannot be bound to some very ironclad, no fun allowed. The rest of the party is miserable because they have to have someone in their party who shits on everything, that has no flexibility. Those are the
paladin.
All paladins are that way. Thank God newer versions of the game have enhanced it. Fiction has enhanced the idea of what a holy warrior, a paladin who does badass shit of killing evil. Sorry, I understand ancient French rules of paladiness. Yeah, but there are.
Well, you're changing the definition to suit someone else's needs. It sounds like.
But the thing here is that
I think people want to use the word paladin because it sounds cool with its previous context. I would be much happier if people used a different word because it just sounds like.
And that's why later books gave us champions, which are paladins with the name shaved off, and said, "Look, it's literally paladin. Does everything paladin does, but now it's more opened up." And
paladin.
There is other fiction out there that can be legitimately.
But that's you just used the key word there, fiction. I'm going by dictionaries as opposed to fiction where people make up.
Oh God, here we go.
We play a game of fiction. We are fighting fictional creatures. If I want to go play in Antgard or go play in a historical reenactment where I'm playing a French paladin knight, I will go with the French definition of paladin. But
so you'd be a palace guard.
But I'm not playing a French knight of a certain king. I'm playing a magically powered badass who, because my god says I'm more awesome than you, I can do cool shit. Because I'm a divinely empowered badass, I have the ability to not suffer from disease. I can heal people by going high five. And I can
clearly I've had enough to drink tonight. This is great.
or hey, you're not my alignment. Smite. And suddenly they explode. Why? Because I have divine awesomeness. And you are. Am I good? You're evil. Okay. Am I evil? You're good. Am I law? You're chaos. Cool. Smush. Sploot. Fountain of blood. And that's literally, I shoot an arrow, divine awesomeness, explosions happen. Meanwhile, you walk off and go, my saving throws are better than you and anything you can throw at me because I'm a fighter who's more awesome than the fighters. There we go. we're playing a fantasy game where I can have a dwarf, a awesome dwarf paladin of being awesome. And I was like, I know old games are that's the way the old games are, but I don't know anybody who plays the old games in person that I sit at tables with. Instead, I see people who are playing fantasy game and are enjoying fantasy game, and who enjoy books that have been
Doesn't
written.
mean they still can't play it wrong.
But
I hear that.
by giving them more options of because people have been reading more books than what we read when we were young people. When I was young, all I had was some really early D&D novels. I had some Dragonlance books, and I had my standard fantasy fiction, aka Lord of the Rings, Dragon Riders of Pern, some other classic books. But hell, I look at some of the badasses from, say, I don't know, Amber. Some of them are pretty borderline paladin awesome. But yeah, some of them are.
But even okay, I'm
a huge Amber fan. I can't think of one. They're all bastards.
They're all bastards. But then again, you don't have to be. You can be a lawful good bastard. Lawful good doesn't mean nice. Lawful good just
by definition. You can be a lawful good bastard, because being a bastard is not knowing who your father is or being born out of wedlock. So technically, by definition, you can be a lawful good badass. You can be a bastard.
You can also be lawful good and try to overthrow a kingdom. You can be lawful good and trying to reset the celestial order.
There's all kinds of cool shit you can do being lawful good.
Right.
Tons of cool stuff. But that key word in there is good. Is good.
But the thing here is that what I consider good, what might be good, you might not agree with it. You might not go, yeah, that doesn't benefit everyone, but it will benefit the most. But you're hitting a lot of people. Look, good is a really weird thing. And we get to
I think it's pretty much set in stone.
It's not.
I think it was set in stone. Yeah, I think they were called the 10 Commandments.
See, this is the problem. I gamed with too many philosophy majors.
I mean, really, we don't need 10, maybe 5 commandments.
What? Don't be an asshole. Sorry, you need 2. You can write it on a fucking post-it note. You dick, and stay true to the provider of Dying Nookie. There you go.
Yeah. I feel like we should be giving his family royalties after that statement. The problem with, I know this is not what we're supposed to be talking about. We're supposed to be talking about rag and riches, but the Paladin door has been opened.
Well,
Sorry
the
about
Paladin door, the Paladin door shall be shut for now. That's an entire different episode.
Maybe we should come back to the Paladin conversation on a different video. Maybe that should be a gatekeepers.
That has been a gatekeepers. So yes, something that we
where was it?
I will
over the table and just
Okay.
Max and I will never agree on paladins. I've already come to that decision. So.
Don't even sweat it, man. Don't even sweat it.
Okay. Rags to riches. Better yet, you're in a campaign setting. This hasn't happened to me, per se. This really hasn't happened to me. But your DM puts a blue dragon in front of you. And you have 2 choices. Give up thy shit or die. Now, the party gave up their shit because they didn't want to die.
Speak of the devil.
Better, Bruce.
Name!
What?
Okay.
What?
Yeah, just
Bruce?
entrance.
Oh, okay.
Welcome, Bruce, to the channel.
And how do you feel about paladins, Bruce?
I think we now know how he feels about paladins.
I don't have enough beer to drink. How can I jump into this now and be asleep before we end?
I don't think you can.
Might I suggest Everclear?
Oh God.
Ooh, ooh.
Somebody hates me.
Not at all, Bruce. You said you wanted to be asleep in like 40 minutes. I would just recommend Everclear.
He said sleep, not dying of alcohol poisoning.
So, Bruce, welcome to the show.
Rags to Riches story. You guys are talking about Rags to Riches. And
Yes.
I threw out the obvious one from this week, the bait that everybody seems to be following. Oh, I want to know about Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. And it looks like Johnny Depp did have the Rags to Riches happen to him.
Yeah, we talked about that after you put that in there.
Yeah, we did talk about that.
Yeah, I was in the middle of scrubbing my buttocks. And the thing that it was kind of funny. Well, no, it's just a shitty job. The entire thing about that is that you could have the players doing an entertainer troupe. They don't have to all be bards, Blaine, but it makes it easier. And they could be, on the top of their game, and then one day, one of the higher socially ranked bards of the troupe ends up fucking the mayor's daughter or the admiral's daughter, and suddenly the party is evicted from the city and not allowed to partake within the parish. They're not allowed to play anywhere. And you guys got to travel and you got to make do because you're not getting all the money you were due before. Your money just ran out. And so whatever you've got in your bags, that's it. And now you're being forced into overland travel and you have to start over somewhere brand spanking new. Welcome to my life. And I think it's one of those things where like you have to learn new skills. You have to have the ability to be able to be variable and be able to address different people because you're going into a different culture. You're being forced into a different culture. Because if you stay in the capital city with the mayor's pregnant daughter, they're going to have you in stocks. And one of these days, some guard captain's just going to end up executing you when he sees you stumbling drunk out of a bar. I'm so sorry. Oh no. And he would get a slap on the wrist and a promotion. So there's that. And I think while we can talk about paladins because of the paladin in the game, I think bards, parties full of bards offer better examples for what's the worst that could happen. And we could just pull Kai's cord and let him talk for another 20 minutes as to what happens when you have a party full of entertainers and jongleurs and troubadours. What happens, Blaine? Tell us. And he'll go. If you give him enough vodka, he'll go for hours. The Slav water.
Yes, I will. You can just. I need Slav water. It's been a long time.
Anyway, that's my theory.
I've been a good.
That's what I was thinking about. If I'm on the wrong page, tell me.
No, I think that's a very good point. That is a good story element. If the reason for half everything decides to sleep with the mayor's daughter or the princess of the kingdom, that entire troop is going to have to, or party is going to have to go relocate somewhere else. Very
Hold
far
on a
away.
second. Why is it all the guy's fault? I mean, she said yes, didn't she?
Okay. I mean, okay, sure. The reason for half everything's, screws the prince of the kingdom instead. And the king gets mad, or the queen gets mad, whatever the circumstances might be, a bard can be the whole reason a party has to pull up stakes and leave town. And then they have to start all over again. those are the elements of a rags to riches story, where you've acquired wealth, or acquired status, or even the affection of another. You lose it, and now you have to go regain it once you hit rock bottom. And that's those stories are really hard to pull off in a game. They're easier to pull off on paper, and they're easier to pull off on film.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
game is very, very difficult, unless the players have done something to kind of facilitate that for the game master, such as a paladin deciding, hey, I'm going to attack this unarmed person and lose all my powers. That as an example.
Yeah, I think I took this all just a little too literal when thinking about it before we started.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
And for me,
and that's. Oh, go ahead, Kai.
it also comes down to it is like, I know we touched on this idea that not everything works, but everyone's tables are a little bit different. And some tables are like, no, I must have high score, must have accumulate most wealth, and if I lose wealth, that's bad. And some tables are much more like, go ahead, hit me with the worst thing you can hit me with. I want to see where this goes. I want to see. Every once in a while, you got to have somebody in the party who just goes, you know what? We always succeed. We always. And then you have that one player who rolls his dice and goes, looks at the dice, and then I'm sitting here, behind the screen, and he gives me that knowing look of, I'm up to something, and I'm like, all right. And he's like, I failed at a critical junction, and I'm like, and then the whole party has to now react, and it has more fun. Some tables like when shit goes wrong, because it goes from, well, because life never lets you just have a smooth occasion. Life always seems to come out there and kicks you in the fucking balls, like hard, and suddenly out of nowhere, shit goes wrong, and you gotta fucking adapt. And sometimes, having that one player who, oops, and now things get more interesting. I'll take that any day over everyone seems to always succeed at all times. It's rather suspicious, isn't it? But hey, you gotta trust them, right?
Don't trust anybody.
I don't trust any.
Only as far as I can throw them.
I don't trust anybody because of the simple fact that the odds say you should fail at least 1 in 4 times. Man, I'm watching your dice rolls, and I think your dice are cooked, but I can't prove it. And you never fail when it matters. So I will take the one guy who's the drama student goes, no, I'm going to fail when it's most interesting. And I'm like, thank you. Thank you for allowing me to have at least some complication in the story. Thank you.
That's kind of why I wanted to bring up the 7, like I said, the 7 basic topics, or basic plots, at the beginning, was a lot of game masters out there don't know how to incorporate these 7 basic stories that all humans have been telling for thousands of years, into a game setting. And we'll touch on other, topics as well, romance, comedy, tragedy, those other elements as well in the next episode 32. But, the rags to riches isn't so, narrow focused on loot or gear. It can be focused on powers. It can be, you can affect the players in almost any way, not just their loot. They can lose their home. They can lose their status. They can lose so much more than just their gear. And as game masters, it's up to us to decide, what do we want to hit them with that's going to hurt, but not necessarily hurt their ability to play. And that's kind of why
I usually just flop off a limb.
These topics. Okay.
Oh, gosh.
Losing. Yeah. Man, I have had so many arguments at the table about from a player arguing with me about losing limbs. I don't even more. I don't really play in those games or have that person at my table. And it's no offense to them. I don't want the arguments anymore. You know,
And I will work too.
if I critically hit you 3 times, like if I triple nat 20 someone, instead of out and out just killing them, I would rather take a limb. I would rather keep that character going
Amen.
than have them make a brand new character and force me to finagle and figure out how to get them back into the game. You know, there are ways, you know, you can get a regenerate spell, you can get you know, all these other methods of replacing the arm. It is another, you know, that is kind of Rags to Riches story too, in a certain sense, where you lose a limb and now you've got to fight like hell to either replace it, repair it, or, you know, do something to advance, you know, your character's life.
Learn to live with it.
Or yeah, learn to live with it. You know, I don't really pull that stunt anymore because the last time I did, someone got really pissed off, and it wasn't even losing a limb, it wasn't even losing a finger, it was a scar, and they got all bent out of shape about it.
What?
So yeah, I'm not gonna get into it.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. But no, so yeah, you can take more than just their wealth. You can take more than just, you know, what they presume is their actual power. You can take things they care about as, you know, characters, not necessarily players. You know, they're players. You know, they're going to care about the mechanics of the game. And most of them, if you know, I'm speaking mostly from recent experience. Most players don't care about the story. They don't care about their surroundings or the interworkings of the game. Yeah, they care more about just the mechanics. You know, okay, fine, kudos. You know, go play in those games if you want. I won't invite you back to my table. I want players who are invested in the world, the story, and building interrelationships within the story and building themselves into the world. And then I have the ability to take things away from them that, you know, they actually care about, not necessarily their gear. Sometimes their gear. I will sometimes take their gear away. But no, I that's, you know, again, that's why I really wanted to bring this up. You know, the 7 basic plots. Any final thoughts on Rags to Riches?
Use it.
Oh,
Is it a lot?
I think it's. I watched a video on Max Chillstream about where they're comparing old fighters to new fighters. The reason why I bring this up was apparently old fighters back in the day, part of their mission in life was to build a fucking keep, a mansion, a something or another, to hoard all their treasures and trophies in, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I know in earlier years when me and you were gaming in other people's campaigns, we'd often, you know, try to build a lair of 4 or whatever. And my only issues with that is here lately, and this goes to Rags to Riches aspect of it, is we're spending all this much money to build up our keep so we can be lords of whatever, except for Kingmaker. Kingmaker is a whole different creature. But how often do you actually go back to said fort? I mean, you're on the road
Every day.
more than not.
Often.
Very
I
often.
haven't been in a campaign except for recently, Mike's, because we're right next door to it. Most of the campaigns I've been in, we start here and we end up way somewhere over there.
Truth be told, if it wasn't for the that magic coach spell that the follower NPC had access to, it had taken you days to get from place to place. Like you would have been, you know, you had your fortress at Dresden, and then you were traveling weeks or days across the wasteland to the next location with random encounters, mind you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even in my current one, we come, we clear out a fort, we set it up for NPCs, then we move on to the hex crawl to find another fort to stop the waves of asshats. But I don't think we've been back to the original fort in how long, Bruce?
There's about 8 months that you've been away from Krundakar, and you guys kind of moved away from it because your human followers you've got are getting claustrophobic in the dwarven halls.
Right.
Okay, so the party's mostly human. Nobody was biting the dwarven racial bit except for Travis. Travis would like to go back there, mind you. He would love to take his character back there because he's revered by these people. He's a cleric of their deity.
Yeah.
And the thing is that you guys haven't gone back there in 8 months. The second keep you guys set up shop at is almost the same story, but it provides the humans and elves a place to merrily relax between miserable runs out in a hobgoblin-infested wilderness. So you guys are doing this set up one keep pushing. It's an invasion, and you guys are trying to flop the bad guys and to put them on their heels. So as you're doing that, you're not going to get really used to one singular keep. But people that are taking leadership as a feat, and those over 7th level can take it, you are going to have your same followers follow you from keep to keep to keep. So there is going to be a element of you do have your home base. Your home base is moving with you. That might be 300 people at a time. Just saying.
Gotcha.
And keep in mind, the more success you have and the more refugees you rescue, the more services you're going to be able to have back at your bases, the more chances you're going to have to actually have somebody that has a skill or a feat that will fill in a void that you guys are currently having. So when you go back to the crafters, you might have Bob, the thaumaturge, and he's got all the feats available for magical item crafting, but you haven't opened up to him. You haven't talked to him yet.
Gotcha. No, I get that. And I know with mine, with the Rise of the Rune Lord, is they make it back to Sandpoint once more, then they don't ever go back.
In Rise of the Rune Lords went back at the 4th book, and then that was pretty much it because they went over to the Magic College, and from the Magic College, where the Grand Crafting was available, they went north to Zin Shalast.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's not confuse the two. If the players wanted to go back to Sandpoint while they're in Zin Shalast, they could easily. They're 15th level.
Yeah. I'm not saying that they
won't. Teleport scroll. The fighter has boots of teleport. It's okay. It's all right. We can do this.
Okay. I don't know. I don't know if it's me as a DM or me as a player, but every time we do this, we want to build a fort. They never fucking get back to it.
See, I don't have that problem. If I give my players a chance to build a fort, they're going to get like drafting tools and like survey the land, figure out how much stone they're going to be using, where it's going to be coming from, how it's going to be transported, how they're going to pay the workers, the wood, how it's going to be transported in. They're going to make sure that every layout is done perfectly. How it's going to be set up so that way you have proper kill zones, proper traps. How could they be set to become safe at certain times? How big of a ballroom are they trying to set up for? How big the barracks going to be? They're sitting here like plotting out elevation changes so that way they can have everything set up to be the castle they want with the environment. They'll figure out where the water table is. They'll figure out everything. They're going to be building. If the wizard wants a tower, they're going to make sure the tower is fortified. If the monk wants to have a training area, they're going to make sure it's good. They're going to make sure that there's training grounds for not just the garrison, so the garrison can keep refining and drilling and prepared. They're going to do so much work, and the party leaves They're looking for like ways to go back because this is their stronghold. I don't know what players. It's like unless I purposely drag them kicking and screaming from their bastion, they don't want to leave the bastion. Well, they'll leave for an adventure, but they're going to go back because, well, do you trust the Seneschal? I don't trust the Seneschal. Now, mind you, the Seneschal is usually, somebody semi-trustworthy, but you can't leave them running things because, well, the butler will burn down things. And I don't know players who leave that way. I especially if I'm playing, dear God, you'd better expect the moment that if I'm a player and you give me the chance to, I'm also going to get out my drafting set and I'm going to draw everything. I'm going to figure out the housing for every follower I've got. I'm going to make sure they're all taken care of. I'm going to invest myself. And why? Not because I want that, but because I want to give you, the GM, the ability to know that you can strike at me. You can attack my stuff and expect me to defend myself and defend my followers to defend themselves. So if I put the effort in and my players put the effort in to build this fortress, and then a GM does this fucking Thanos snap bullshit GM says so crap of I killed everything, you'd better give me an after action battle report because I will go in with a forensics team and figure out how they murdered everything. And then I'm going to write a report on how my fortress was destroyed. So that way it'll be sent off to be studied by everybody who's going to build the better fort after this. And like I said, there better be an action report. And if you say GM magical bullshit does this, we're going to figure out how to counter magic. There will be no fucking wizards anywhere in a goddamn 100-mile radius who's allowed to breathe free air.
This is how the crusade or how the purge starts. This is how the witch trials start.
A dragon did it. How did you get past the forward air observation posts? How did you get past the anti-air defenses? How did your dragon strike? Well, he used invisibility. How did he get past the guards who had this, and this? Well, how did you do this? If our party wizard can cast invisibility, I'm going to prepare to counter him. Because if our wizard can do it, your wizard can do it. And I'm going to murder your wizard. I'm going to murder your cleric. I'm going to murder your dragon, your fucking cockatrice. Anything that I can fight, I will prepare to kill. Again and again and again. So if I lose a fort, you'd better believe I'm going to build a better fort. Like fucking Ultron. You'd better kill me, or I will fucking improve. And continue to improve. Until which point everything is safe and secure, or I'm a dead corpse. This is the war. This is the conflict that if you give me a fort, you are signing up for.
There are moments in these get-togethers that we do weekly that I wish we could do clips of previous episodes because right there, like even don't take my shit, Rand. God, it would just add on to the flavor of his current rant.
Yes. Look, it's not my fault. I think like Ultron. If I get beaten, I'm going to improve.
I think we've beaten the rags to riches to death. Now it's time to rebuild into a different direction, I think.
Paladins?
No,
you.
the voyage and return plot. So, the elements of a voyage and return are the protagonist must travel. Something, likely a quest or a monster, needs to be dealt with in some capacity. So this is where we're combining, the arduous journey with quest or monster, slaying. Anyway, this causes the protagonist to travel to a far-off location. and they will experience fantastical events during their journeys. Over the course of the adventure, the protagonist will be exposed to some kind of fantastical event, either a meeting with a dragon or, a mysterious creature with an even more mysterious ring in a dark cavern. And then they must return home. Now, when they return home, they have changed in some meaningful way. When the protagonist, does finally return, they are, irrevocably changed, either for good or for bad. So this is the elements of a voyage and return story. You can see this throughout The Hobbit. You can see this in Iliad's Odyssey. You can see this in a lot of the great old epic tales. Even the Trials of Hercules is technically a voyage and return plot type.
Sinbad.
Weird.
Yeah. Sinbad.
Yep, Sinbad is also a really great one. So how do we, as game masters, use the voyage and return, even though it is often used? How do we use it better? I open the floor. I think we're losing Baron's connectivity.
Yeah, I see his mouth moving, but all I hear is blah 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 blah. It's like being in a cartoon.
Yes.
Charlie,
Did somebody drown him?
Sorry, man. No dice. You might have to switch mics.
it's okay. We come over for some lollipops.
Does anyone else want to start off while Baron G is fixing his equipment?
Yeah, I mean, there's several campaigns I've been in books and movies. It's kind of the main trope for most action movies or movies of late is we go there, we do what we need to do, and we come back heroes. Big bad heroes. Big damn heroes. And you can not only works in fantasy, but works in sci-fi too. I mean, it works. It's the one quick, I have no idea what I'm going to run, but this is the type of campaign I want to run theme you could throw into anything. I think the princess has been overdone personally. I don't care about the princess anymore. Bowser can keep the bitch.
But she's in another castle.
Poor Zelda.
She's always in another castle.
Poor Zelda. Poor Link,
It's one of my faves, Kyle. But that's one of my faves because it's for me. It's so rarely used that the whole
rarely used. They use it
in my circle. In my circle, it's very rarely used. So many players I've come across over the decades never get married, never care. They bang wenches left and right and move on and never care. To me personally, I can't think of anything that should be more important. How many of us here are actually married and would move heaven and earth, to rescue said wife, girlfriend, princess, etc. Unless you have children, there is and should never be anything more important to a red-blooded male. Period.
Saving my daughter, sure. I'm right there with you, and I have a list of people that back my play. Some of them might be even in this panel. My ex-wife, she can fuck off the bridge with Dan.
Right. Let's for a moment pretend you meet Mrs. Right in the near future, the late future, years from now, what have you. Would you not then agree?
I would agree, but I just using the wife right now is not exactly the
Sure. And I'm sure there's something each of us could also place in that same category. There are things or people, let's just stick with people, that if something bad happened to them, we would throw a party. But for most of us, our spouse and significant other tops the list, only, topped by one's children. And if that's the route you have to go, Conan, I believe, had to rescue his kid on at least one occasion, and same thing.
Yeah. No, I
For
agree.
me,
I
for me,
agree.
there's what you want my holy sword in exchange for my wife? Done deal. Period. No questions asked. Um, so I can't really think of anything that would ever be
Oh, I
more
mean,
important, but
yeah.
yet so little used because we're playing a role playing game with a bunch of other dudes, usually a dude as a dungeon master, and it's hard to transfer that sort of actual, experience of, without being weird and awkward. So it's so rarely used. That's why I always, will advocate for members of the opposite sex to be in games so that you can actually sort of transfer those feelings or emotions so that you can actually not miss out on the adventures that in the old days that was the number one motivator. If you go back, into the oldest of literature, sometimes that trope is more common than it is now. Now it's so unused that I want to see more of
Oh,
that,
I
just
can.
because you don't all you get from that other than your loved one back is experience. You might get some incidental treasures and things like that along the way, but nothing compares to that moment when the two of you are reunited. Nothing you could ever offer is better than that. There really
Grandpa,
isn't.
Yeah.
And on that too, if is looking at it. Oh, go ahead, Bruce.
It's okay, Grandpa, and I want you to read the kissing part.
Thank you. Thank you.
I had to say it. 'Cause that's
And
exactly where that's from.
You're absolutely right, and it's there for a reason because that is part of the coming of age. My own son, I have to deal with that right now. He could care less, but a couple years from now, I want to see that. I want to be there when he
No,
finally gets to
no.
that
I
position,
don't
that
think
spot in life.
Shadow, brother, I love you, man. I don't think you want to see your son having awkward boner time trying to point the pee-pee in the toilet when he's trying to get out his morning urine, okay?
You know what I meant. You know what I meant. You know what I meant. I don't literally want to be there, but I want to know that actually someday happened.
I'm going to shower first thing, Dad. Don't worry. I don't want you to do that, man.
I'm gonna have some awkward snuggle trouble time.
You know
well,
what I meant. It's hysterical.
You know what you meant, dude. We
and
got
going with this, you're also looking at another one, which two major movies. They were of course books before, but they brought them to life in the movies. Actually, three of them I can think of off the top of my head. Number one was Endgame, when they had to go back, collect all the pieces, all the stones, because they had to travel and then come back. You also had, even going further back, The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings.
Mhm.
Those are two where they went to the mountain, and when they had to go to and throw the ring finally in Lord of the Rings into the volcano. Those are, granted, not everyone came back. If you even want to go, even looking at gaming, as a whole, it was brought up already in here tonight, which was the Rise of the Rune Lords. That technically falls under there and backing it because they have to go to Zinchalas and then they come back.
And not all of them might return. There is no mythic in this campaign.
They
Exactly.
do return. They have changed in some fundamental way.
Right.
Oh yes, definitely.
I mean, I think the most thing in media, I think, where a princess was involved, where it was going there, stopping a bad guy, and going home, was the first Kingsman movie. But other than that, saving the princess trope, yeah, Baron, I was leaving that one alone. See, trying to be a good person, damn it, it sucks.
Oof. Okay.
Yeah, I know.
It pays off in the end, Connell. It pays off in the end.
No, yes,
Literally.
I mean,
Literally.
if you really, if you want to step into the save the princess trope, let's talk about Shrek.
Yeah.
Was she
Shrek
really?
had to go on a journey to acquire, the princess for Lord Farquaad, and he came back. But his journey back is what changed him. It's still a journey or voyage and return story. Yes, there is romance in there. Yes, there are other tropes in there as well, other plot lines intermixed. Say again.
And there's singing.
Well, I mean, despite all that, the absolute, when you tear it all down to its absolute most basic points, it is the voyage and return story. And that, we can use elements from movies, from books that cover that, that are that voyage and return. Many of my games are the voyage and return. And when the player characters return home, they look around and be like, wow, did we really live like this once? Was this our life?
Mhm.
Do I really want to go back to that kind of life? Or do I want to, continue and grow and change? So if you've run a good story of voyage and return, the players themselves are going to ask those questions. You're like, do I want this character to remain the same? Do I want them to go back to their old life? Do I want them to, go be a gong farmer? That's a shit farmer for anyone who doesn't know. Do I want them to go back to, herding cattle? Or do I want them to continue down this road of adventuring into the next grand story? That is the big element of the voyage and return story. Kai, you've been looking like you wanted to chime in on this.
I don't feel like picking off a scab on this one. I've been very quiet on this because well, no, I think I'm going to be nice on this one and not go yelling about things.
What?
Hi, hold on. We don't deserve that. We deserve angry, ranting Kai.
No.
Bless you.
No.
I think my favorite going back one as a child was the Never-Ending Story. There's definitely an aspect in that movie that tears me up as a kid. It still kind of tears me up as an adult because just the concept of loss sucks. And if you don't have some kind of loss in these journeys there and back in, it doesn't stick.
Let me guess. Your sad moment involves the horse, right?
No.
Okay.
No. Do I look
I've
like
never seen it though.
No. The sad part for me was the end when he gets to ride the fucking dragon. What kind of bullshit is that?
I'm about to say, I mean, are you going to give the sad crying millennial thing of, oh, it's so sad when the horse sings. Oh.
No, the sad part was part 3 had Jack Black in it, and nobody else saw it.
I saw, yeah, I remember.
I never saw the first one, so I have no idea what you're talking about.
The second one, the main actor ends up committing suicide several years later. That's the sad part in the second one. He was on Sequest? Yeah, Sequest. The Star Trek of the Sea.
With Roy Schneider, right?
No, he's talking about Lucas off of it.
Well, Star Trek's been brought up.
We can't. Really
I'm just gonna bridge
Trek.
it right now. There was the voyage home was a voyage and return story. They went back to the past, saved a whale, and came home. They didn't change. They changed the world that they were living in to save it. That is another type of voyage and return.
I never did understand that one.
Yeah,
Was
I
there-
didn't care for it much, but it is prominent in my memory.
I remember the only thing I remember from that one was when they're on the bus and Spock basically,
What's
Bold-
there not to understand? Reborn Spock drives DeLorean space Klingon bird around sun really fast because Krylon Tube says it wants whales, but there be no whales here. So they go back to past to find whales, and they put whale on DeLorean bird, fly back to future, drop off bird because Krylon Tube shuts off DeLorean, and whale sings. Tube goes, "I'm good now," and leaves.
And the reason why Kai says DeLorean Spacebird is that Doc Brown gave him this DeLorean Spacebird in Star Trek 3.
Yes, that is correct. Yeah.
I mean,
Do it with style, damn it.
the other aspect of that bothered me is
They
like,
did not steal it. They strategically transferred equipment to an alternate location.
That's right. And then blew up the old ride.
but
Because that's how you do it. If you're going to kill somebody, make sure you don't leave anything behind.
Yeah, and we could go back to Mario Draconic Cherub. He brings up a Nintendo history piece that I never knew about. I never knew Bowser pumped Peach with kids. I never knew that.
So let's talk about paladins because I don't want to think about that.
Oh, you don't want to talk about the David Icke reptilian people? Come on now.
But Mario was a paladin.
No, he was an Italian plumber that got high on his own shit and got lost in the sewer.
Doesn't matter. He's still a paladin.
He was not a palace guard.
I absolutely hate. I mean, from a historical point of view, I absolutely hate the way that D&D has made knights because knights weren't good people. Most of them were dicks, and they robbed and stole. But no, they can't be that way because the story of King Arthur, a fantasy.
Wait, hold on. And King Arthur was a real person. They found a general's headstone. The thing is that King Arthur, in the story, in the tales of King Arthur, there's a literal half-ton or more of asshole knights that do wrong to Arthur throughout the tale. So you can't say D&D has made knights looking like they're the good guy. No, my friend. Read the King Arthur tales again. See how many bad guys are knights.
Oh yeah.
And Charlemagne, that's another good source.
Well, Charlemagne, he was. I mean, I'm not saying hasn't been really good people in history that were knights who became kings. Not saying that, but your paladins that we're playing are not going to be kings. There's some kid off the forum decided to have a holy reunion, a holy bound with their god. It being central, maybe not central. You don't say no to a god, and you get powers.
But it's not unheard of a paladin becoming a king. I think there were several in Greyhawk. None come to mind because I didn't run Greyhawk that much, but it is a possibility, and I don't see how a god would not want that actually to come about. Eventually, eventually that paladin, can't go running around, chasing quests and what have you. And may be better suited to run a land that would be their version of heaven on earth.
Here to me is what a paladin should be. For those who read Dresden Files, Michael is a paladin.
Absolutely.
Yes.
But even he says, Shadow, you might want to close your ears for this. You're only a Knight of the Cross maybe once. Maybe twice. Missions to defend the holy honor only might happen to you once, then the sword gets passed on. We're not talking about a lifetime, dedication to the store. Michael is a rarity. He even says that.
Well,
Yeah,
so
but
I
he's not
mean,
the
even
sole authority of anything.
Right.
He's only the sole authority in his own story. And, while I like the story, there are literally millions of other stories. And I'm not going to ever adhere to just one story for my answer to everything. I'm going to go with the older things, the oldest books that there are to reference. Those are what I usually go by. If it was written in the last 20 years, I usually discount it immediately by the sheer fact of the absolute infinite number of things that influenced it. I'd rather kind of go back to the original source. The older the book, the more accurate it is, in my opinion. I know that's
No,
not
and
always the
I'll
case.
give
There's
you
lots
that.
of wiggle room there, but for me, when it comes to fantasy and fiction, I really tend to go to the older sources, at least the oldest sources I can get, because so many people in the last 50 years have tried to make things their own with their own artistic license. Good for them. I hope they made a ton of money, but that doesn't mean that they're the new authority on anything except their own world. Just like us, I'm the authority in my world. What I say goes, period. And trust me, I do that a lot. Other people, same thing. We're all in that exact same boat as our favorite authors, just without a publisher and a publicist and a big fancy paycheck. We're doing this for the love of the game and our friends and our own desire. Hopefully, some of us will go on to write our own books and become world famous for having done so. But in the meantime, I'm going to go with the people who were influenced the least. The farther back you go, the less they were influenced by others and did the actual influencing.
okay, but at that point, who says that their original outlook on it is the correct outlook?
Well, I
It
can.
would be the most
My answer,
pure of the time.
right. If I can't go back any further, then I've hit pay dirt. If I go to the oldest book written in a certain genre, let's say, and I can't find anything earlier, then okay, it must be them because nothing else survived. Or if it's a $500 book and I can't get it, maybe I can find a PDF. But for the most part, the older the story, the literally the less it was influenced, and I find that that's got the most originality and the most accurate information, especially when it comes to things like Arthur, Robin Hood, Charlemagne. If I can find the oldest copyright date on a book like that, then I know within a certain amount of reason that they weren't influenced by Tolkien or Moorcock or somebody later on down the road. And don't get me wrong, I love those authors as well, but we know most of them were influenced in the way I look for influence and I look for inspiration. I look for, what we call the greats. Well, who inspired them? I'm not looking at the new guys because they were inspired by a whole bunch of other stuff and they had to, mix and match and pick and choose stuff to try to write something original when I can just go back to the originals.
Well, I mean, some of the oldest voyage and return stories are the Epic of Gilgamesh, Orpheus. I want to say probably in the last 100 years, 200 years. I think it's 100 years. Gulliver's Travels.
That's a great one. That's a great one.
Yeah, that is a really great one.
The Odyssey.
Yep, the Odyssey. In the last 100 years, Alice in Wonderland. It's a voyage and return story.
Although I question the author.
One of the old fairy tales, the Goldilocks and the Three Bears. That is a voyage and return story in a way. These are all stories.
Red Riding Hood.
Huh?
Red Riding Hood.
Yep. Another classic fairy tale that is about voyage and return. And the key part about that is the main character, the protagonist, always comes back changed in some significant way. Whether for good or for bad. There are instances where I'm going to get into the more the game side of things, where the characters will go on a journey and they'll loot and pillage and be murder hobos. And when they come back, they realize, oh wait, was I the bad guy? And that's a significant change.
The baddie?
Yeah, I mean, if the players, ask, those, really important questions at the end of a game, like, hey, were we the bad guys? That is a story. There's an instance where the players sort out the loot later, and hearing about every town they go to, they hear rumors of this group of people out there just absolutely destroying shit and breaking the kingdom and ruining the kingdom. They came across a town of necromancers and undead, and they slaughtered everything. Everything that moved, they killed and burned it all. And then when they finally got to the end, the last combat was a necromancer king who had turned his people into intelligent undead to save them from a plague, and that the story of those murderous fiends out there were really them going around destroying everything in this kingdom. And they are like, oh, wait a minute. It's like, so our big bad is this king? Yeah, he's not even going to put up a fight. He surrenders to you and says, just get it over with. And the players were left like, wait, we're the bad guys, aren't we? And they all stopped and been like, yeah, we're going to play a different game, and we're going to do better.
Cowards!
It's a good feeling, isn't it?
Cowards!
Isn't it, Jade?
When your players are...
I wasn't the one who ran that story. I'm telling the story from second-hand knowledge or fourth-hand knowledge of it. Its existence. Like,
those players are all spineless. They don't own up to the fact that they are evil bastards and have to clear their own messes. When they run away and play a new game, they're fucking cowards. You should shame them for running away from their own game.
The very next game I believe that they played was they decided that they were going to be the heroes who stopped their previous characters because they realized how horrible they were.
That's a viable answer. But if they said, we're just going to play a game because we can't live up to the fact that we were the bad guys, I mean, you wore well-tailored uniforms and cool hats. Of course you're the bad guys.
Made by Hugo Boss.
Yeah.
Wait. Are you making a Nazi comment?
Shut up.
What?
You made it.
So I got a question. I'm going to throw this out there.
Okay.
Would you consider the get in and get out sort of movie or adventure, like say Where Eagles Dare with Richard Burton and Clint Eastwood?
Ooh, wow!
Yeah. Remember that, guys? Let me bring you back here. Come on.
Oh God, it's been forever since I've seen it.
I might have to go find that.
Fortress, grab the general, and get the fuck out.
Yeah.
That's more of a quest line.
Yeah, that brings me up to something I wanted to maybe talk about. The journey or the voyage and return to me seems like it's one of several that really should probably be combined with another, just because otherwise it seems almost like you're on a sightseeing trip. You know what I mean? There should be something at the end, like Bruce said, that is the reason for the journey and return. It's almost like a half for me, like a half of the story, where yes, that is a byproduct of or part of the overall story. They go for a reason, they come back, and maybe the reason is meaningless or only part of the whole story.
Okay,
Like
look
Tolkien.
at
Tolkien's a perfect example. The real story, you could look at it that it was a destruction of the ring, but maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was really in Tolkien's mind about coming home and then dealing with everything that's at home that happened because you were gone and not there to maybe stand up against the evil or whatever, or just the growth along the way, and bringing that spirit of adventure back home to your town. So now everybody around you in your town wants to emulate you and maybe go further than that scarecrow that Sam had never passed.
And both The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings started out as a quest plot line. That's where they started, was quest plot line. And there's no shame in mixing the two, the different types of plot lines. Oftentimes, the Voyage and Return does start as a quest.
No, because I'm having a hard time. I'm having a hard time thinking of the Voyage and Return without some reason, without there being the initial reason to leave, other than like the Amish when they kick their kids out, go check out the world and then come back. That is like the only count I can think of where you leave for the reason of leaving to come back or not. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Otherwise, you're going on vacation.
12 colonies of man are attacked by the Cylon Empire, and by the Cylons, the dastardly destruction of the colonies, and a ragtag group of survivors make a desperate flight to go try to find this mysterious place on Earth.
Isn't that a rags to riches a little?
No, that could be there back again. That can also, because it's humanity looking for another tribe of humanity. It could be rags to riches. It could be a lot of ways to think it. Like Battlestar Galactica is a fantastic. It's just a fantastic place to mine. If you can look at how certain stories are told, hell, to reimagine the series, Battle of New Caprica. They found a place. The Cylons arrive, drive off the two battle stars and a few ragtag survivors away from the occupation. The survivors have to regroup and then launch a harebrained attack to extract the survivors off New Caprica. This is a left occupation, return, rescue, return back to the flight against destruction. I mean, there's a lot of good stories that fit this logic. That's just one that came to me as yeah. I mean, you left, you had an adventure, you came back, and this one just ended with everyone's being hunted. Congrats.
But I'm specifically talking about the reason for leaving. Seems like the reason for leaving is potentially any one of the other 6 plots.
Wait. I got one. Logan's Run.
Okay.
Logan's Run is about, let's just, I'm not getting into the whole movie, but the footnotes. The guy's time is up, but he's not ready to go. He finds out that he's been lied to, so he leaves the area and has an adventure with a female companion as he's being hunted.
But that could almost be the overcoming a monster.
But he is. Let me get to it. He goes, he has adventures, and the adventures he has to deal with the ice realm, which I'm just using the ice realm. Then the people underground, the underground people, then the ice monster, only to find out when he gets to the other side that he's been lied to even more over the years. The earth is plentiful, the ozone is back, so forth and so on. He finds out there's at least one other person living outside. He knows the way of the outside road. So he goes back to where he gets started to try to convince his brothers and sisters that there is more out there than what we have here.
Sure. But again, there's always a reason for the voyage, unless unless you're trying to tell me that the voyage, just to go out and explore for the sake of exploring, without any other reason, almost always seems to have a reason that is one of the other six.
Sometimes there are stories where the character just wants to explore. They want to see what's beyond the next ridge. They want to
I can actually
see
think of
what's over in
one
that valley.
that I know none of you have read, called Brack the Barbarian. He literally leaves his home in search of adventure, literally, and he has no idea what the adventure is.
Okay.
And other than that, and like I mentioned with the Amish, sending their children away to go and find themselves, and if they come back, awesome. If not, it wasn't meant to be. I'm having a hard time thinking of a non-reason to leave. You know what I mean? Other than vacation.
I mean, I might be thinking the wrong
Which,
character.
don't get me wrong, that's cool. I could use a vacation. I haven't had one in years, but it just seems that it would be best, married to some other of the six, so that you get the best of both worlds, so that it makes sense that you're not just you got kicked out of the house and come back when you're rich and famous.
That also fits really well with, like, say, certain Swedish kings who went into pseudo exile until their parents died, and then they became they returned to the throne triumphant and ready to launch a decade-long campaign of murder and conquest across the entirety of Northern Europe. Yeah.
Was it Hamlet kind of, hey, I'm leaving the kingdom to go see what else is out there to come back when he finds out his father dies, only realize that his uncle and his mom are the cause of his father's death?
I think that's actually a tragedy, and we'll get into those next week.
Okay. Because it kind of sounds like that Hamlet fits in there. Not Hamlet. Yeah, Hamlet. But yeah, no, in campaigning and doing a story, there will always be the, hey, we have to go play the gopher. We have to go fetch something and bring it back to stop the great evil or to rescue somebody. The great MacGuffin is, I could think of Krull, Krull, where the whole idea was the princess got kidnapped and they had to go buddy up with a centaur, a half-ass wizard, and a bald dude to go save the day. Not bald, blind. I'm bad. Then they win, and they come back. And Willow being another one of those.
Never saw
It's a good classic 80s voyage and return story.
With Val Kilmer.
Yep. And Warwick Davis.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's movies out there. I mean, there's older movies out there, and there's some newer movies out there that are very much just the sole purpose of getting whatever they need to get and coming back.
I mean, even
And
some of the,
in the middle.
even some of the classics we talked or said, the Orpheus, the Epic of Gilgamesh, those are also really great sources of inspiration to run a campaign in. Baron, Bruce, any thoughts on the voyage and return?
I always use the voyage and return as part of a bigger story. I'm going to be with Shadow and Sun on this. I mean, I don't mind using just going there and back again, but like that's the basic thing for Hobbit. But like in the Hobbit, you've got 300 amazing pages of action that you can enjoy as an 8-year-old, or as a 28-year-old, or as a 48-year-old. It doesn't matter. You're going to get something great out of it because it's all about him taking off with a bunch of dwarves and an old man, and they go somewhere very dangerous, almost die, and they come back with a lifetime stories to tell that happened within about a span of maybe 3 to 4 months. And he never did get he got his comeuppance. Bilbo got the things that he was doing. Keep that in mind. Because up to this point, he hadn't really stretched himself. He hadn't really done a whole lot. He'd been in places, but he hadn't really pushed himself to any limit. And once he was out there risking life and limb, he was living once again. And I think that's the big takeaway, that you don't know what you're capable of until you've got to, until you actually have to perform. And maybe it's just, for one night, for 7.5 minutes on stage, or maybe you're being threatened with everything, including your miserable life, and you better play your A game.
Anything you want to add to that, Garrett?
No, I think you guys pretty much covered all the bases on that.
As we're talking about this, I keep thinking of the old Rocky movies. He goes and fights somebody, gets his ass kicked, then the training montage starts. So he gets back in, a physical peak that he can take on the challenger, it being the Russian or Mr. T or whatever. Then he goes, and this is in the first few. Actually, the last one, he does. He wins the world championship, boxing, then and goes to rags and riches there too. He wins the world championship. Starts off poor, becomes rich because of some bad money decisions and getting hit one too many times in the head. The money goes away. Now he's back in Philadelphia, not far from the neighborhood he started off in. I mean, I know it's not fantasy, but those stories.
It is fantasy in a way.
But you know what? That brings up something I just thought of just now. Maybe the epic story should include at least 5 or 6 or even 7 of all of these in a good epic. If you can
actually
at some point or another, like you said, he went to rags to riches. He went on a quest to be the best. Please, thank you. Okay, nobody did it. There was romance. There was tragedy. There was overcoming a monster or evil, that being Ivan Drago. It had all of them, and maybe that's what we might want to, come back to later, is how we can actually make it epic by using all 7.
Yeah, I figured we would touch on that next week.
Okay, because we have left the comedy, tragedy, and rebirth. Romance and revenge would be the last things we talked about. 2 or 3 weeks from now, maybe we can make this a 4-parter or something like that, because all of the good ones have those, but they're not necessarily. While they can be an entire, plot or story arc, they aren't mentioned in your 7. But we do have left comedy, tragedy, and rebirth. That being 3. Should we try to do all 3 next week?
Yeah, we can try to knock all 3 of those out next week.
Because comedy and tragedy are, opposite sides of the same coin.
They can be, yes. I think I'm going to have to go into a deeper explanation of comedy for some, because comedy isn't necessarily just a funny story.
Right.
Comedy oftentimes
Dante's Inferno, there's not a whole lot of laughing.
No, there's not a whole lot of laughing. It's a lot of confusion, and then it all links together. That truly is what a comedy is, such as
like a good episode of Red Dwarf, the jokes at the end.
Yeah, the jokes at the end. The Taming of the Shrew by William Shakespeare is a comedy. He did a lot of tragedy stories, but he also had his hand in some comedies as well. So we will cover comedy, tragedy, and rebirth, hopefully rebirth, in next week's episode 32, the 7 basic plots. I think we have reached the end of tonight. If everyone doesn't want to go further, no.
Well, we will go ahead and start the round 2. Jade, what do you got on deck for?
Okay.
For this
so
week?
now that May has officially ended, yes, I am not going to be near as busy. So I'll actually be able to sit down, kind of plot out and script out some episodes for my own channel. So I'm going to be working on some of my own content here in the near future, and maybe even some of my wall decorations, get those up and going. So that's what I'm hoping to do the next month. Get some episodes, get my my channel opener out there, and get the first 2 or 3 episodes out there. And I'm going to also cover the 7 basic plots on my own channel as well, and how I have personally used them, and tips and tricks that I've used with them. So,
Kai, have you got anything that you are going to be doing?
Nope.
Lacey's honest about it.
I like his honesty.
Nope.
That was short, sweet, and to the point.
Then enjoy the hell
What
out of your
about
summer,
you?
Kai. Enjoy the hell out of the summer.
What about you, Connor?
I don't have students for the next 3 months. I'm going to enjoy it.
That's fair. This coming up. All right. I'll most likely see most of you guys on Mac's show stream tomorrow. Saturday, as of right now, I have nothing planned. You might find me on Shauner's or Sean Driscoll's YouTube channel videos. I've been showing up there a lot. And on Sunday, me and Shadow and Sons are reviewing the last season of Stranger Things and talk about how they keep bringing Dungeons and Dragons, old school Dungeons and Dragons, into each of the series, and what it could mean for further generations in real life generations. Then on Monday, well, we'll get to it on Monday. That's about all I have got going on.
All right. What about you, Shadow? Definitely want to.
I've got a full boat. Friday, I will be doing an Arduin review. Saturday, my son is being awarded a very prestigious award for his movie he made in middle school, and one of 2 kids in, I believe, California, maybe a few more, but at least in Los Angeles or the surrounding area, he's getting to walk down the red carpet and highlight his movie. I'm going to try and videotape that so you guys can see, what he did. I'm really, really proud. He's done better in this 1 year of school after COVID than I did in my entire career, all the way from kindergarten to college. I won more awards out of school than in school, but I'm, a real proud papa, and I can't help but brag a little, because he really loves you guys, and you guys have been, a pretty big influence on him over the past couple of months, and hopefully, you guys will all get to meet him, a little bit more in person. Sunday, gonna hang out with Connell and do the Stranger Things. After that, the little guy and I have a painting video we'll do. Tuesday, we're gonna review, I believe, either Silent Running, Soylent Green, or Rollerball. So stay tuned for that one. That's gonna be a lot of fun.
Ooh, Rollerball.
Because he saw the movies when he was a tiny little kid, remembers nothing, and now that he's all big and grown up, he can watch these movies, appreciate them, and probably understand them even more than his mom, who watched them with us and just shook her head. This sci-fi crap is weird. And then Wednesday, what have we got Wednesday? I'll be doing some sort of game review. I haven't decided what yet. And Thursday, I guess I'll be hanging out with you guys again.
All right.
Shadow, I would recommend that you throw your son I think it's 1991 or 2 Harrison Bergeron movie with Sean Austin.
What's it called?
Harrison Bergeron. I think all of us have read it. It's
Sounds familiar.
It's a movie written by Vonnegut. It was a novella where everybody was forced to be equal. So if you're like super strong, you have to carry these weights around with you all the time. If you were really hot, you had to wear a clown nose. If you had a good vision, they forced you to wear glasses that messed your eyes up. It was a really weird story, but Vonnegut nails it on the head. And Sean Austin is the title character, Harrison Bergeron, that's in the movie, and it was a pretty faithful movie from book translation.
Bergeron, Burgeron.
I'll find it for you. I'll send it to your email.
Okay. Yeah, because
go ahead.
Now,
we've got the whole summer to do stuff like this, and I want to get as much time with him watching the old movies, reading the old books when we're not out hiking or riding or doing other stuff, and I want to get as much into that little brain of his as I can before he enters the public school system.
Now, my question for you. Go for it, Bruce.
Don't let him enter the public school system, because one of these days, oh, here comes a meme. One of these days, the federal government will send sheriffs and police to your house, but because you homeschool your kid, they're going to just wait outside indefinitely. Oh, too soon?
Wow. Yeah, on that note, are you going to watch both versions of Rollerball, the one that came out in 2002?
No, I don't have it.
The original is really good.
Both of them are actually pretty good for what they are.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing his reaction to these movies, because he's not like all the other kids around him. Let's put it that way. He's a really smart kid, and those of you who have met him, he's not listening to a lot of the stuff that's being force fed to these little guys and girls.
I almost feel like you should throw Death Race in that list of movies.
The first one especially.
Yeah.
From 75.
That's a definite possibility, especially with our love of Gaslands and things like that. So that's probably going to be in there.
Did you play Gaslands?
Oh yeah. Well,
Badass.
technically, we're going to start. I've got the book. We've made cars. One of our good friends, he's got a channel over in the UK, Ireland actually, who has his own channel with Gaslands. And my son won a prize from his contest, and we're waiting for it to get here because it's got the templates so that we can, actually start playing this summer.
It's funny you say that, because the moment you bring up cards, I see Jade's lights brighten up. Ooh, cars? I know a thing or two about cars.
Truthfully, I'd also throw in there the original, not the remake. The original, Gone in 60 Seconds.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, even the new one's not that
That
bad.
poor 67 Mustang.
No. Has to be the original.
Yeah, but
Poor 67 Mustang.
Okay, Garrett, the remake done in '99 was actually a good Nicolas Cage movie. It's one of
there's no such thing. Lies. There's no such thing as a good Nicolas Cage movie.
We have Face Off. We have Raising Arizona, and we have.
I actually like National Treasure. I hate to say it, but I really like that one.
My problem with Nicolas Cage is simple. I don't want an Elvis in my Marvel movies. I'm just kind of weird that way. I don't want to see Elvis.
You know what? I actually liked him in Ghost Rider too. I hate to admit it. I really did.
The reason I say go for the original is just because it's something that they could not recreate in the 90 remake was that car chase at the end. The last 45 minutes is a legit car chase through LA.
Mm-hmm.
And it was phenomenally done.
That poor Mustang.
Yeah.
Speaking of car movies,
I cried.
Speaking of car movies, do any of you guys remember the movie Duel?
Yeah.
Vaguely.
With Steven
Dennis Weaver
movie? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's another one we're going to watch this year.
It's been forever, but yeah, I kind of remember that movie.
Yeah, it's well worth the watch. One of those movies my old man said, sit down, watch this movie. I don't care if you got homework. This movie's more important.
That wasn't that was not originally released in theaters. It was a TV movie.
Was it?
Yeah, The
Yeah.
Duel from 1975. Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on, Death Race
All right.
2000.
All right, Bruce. Now that we've gotten the cars out of our system, what have you got going on this upcoming week?
Sometime this weekend, I'm going to put up a stream with a 6-hour notice that I'll be reading the final third of the book Elijah's Story, because of some friends that had really written some great books. I really felt like, wow, I should not have released either book that I did. This is honestly speaking, I should not have released the books I did in their unfinished states. And they weren't really unfinished, they were just horribly unedited. Okay? And I'll just say
That's your
that
own
right
fault.
there. Yeah, it's my own fault. But I didn't want to wait for people because they're like not dragging their feet. But my schedule was kind of accelerating a bit in 2010, if you remember right. And so I really wanted to just put those out there. And I really enjoyed writing the two of them, and I've got the third one on the PC here, but I'm not anywhere near to where I want to release it. It's not in an unfinished state. It needs to be edited for content. And maybe whole storylines need to be compiled into a different novel or a different book. But I really wanted, after I got halfway through reading through Elijah's Story and I stopped. I just stopped. And I haven't done anything for over a year on it. And there's 8 videos out there with me going through 25 pages each. And I'm really in the mindset that I just need to get back to it and push through that. It wouldn't take me that long, maybe 2 hours. So I'm going to do
And
that.
who's this written by?
Me?
Bruce?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I had no idea. This is the very
my
first I've heard of it. Okay.
It's in my playlist. I'll just say that.
Okay. Well, you can count on me giving it a listen.
Yeah. The third session, I really just bombed. And I mean bombed the shit out of it. So what I'll probably have to do is go redo it and then go re-edit my playlist to insert that video on top of the third one and delete the other video because there was something wrong. I don't know what it was. I was not feeling it. So maybe it was content. I don't know, but there's like a portion of it where like I guess it would be content where I was just unhappy reading it because I'd started to read a book by a guy named Steve Lee, and he had done this amazing book, and I'm like, well, my fucking shitty political satire fantasy in real life doesn't really stack up well to his amazing epic sci-fi. Damn it. And I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have compared the two because they're completely different animals, different genres, etc. But I'll be doing that this weekend. And be looking out for that. And then Friday night, you'll see me over at Max's, maybe in the chat, maybe in the panel, not certain. And then you'll also have me available Sunday. I believe I'm not doing the art stream with Machini. This is last weekend between seasons. And I might do a session or might do a video Sunday night once Shadow and Sun and Connell step off. But I'm not really in the mood to be on the air with an unplanned stream while they're streaming. I don't want to pillage. I don't want to cannibalize from their viewers. No offense, but I think it'd be better if I did not do that. I did fix my Discord had like everybody as an admin, so people were renaming channels and shit. So I kind of fixed that, and I made what? Sorry, I made a few mods in there, and I put Chad Zer's channel back. I don't know if he's back in there or not, but I laugh. I laugh about that. Hey, I kind of fucked up. I'm not worried about it. I was making millions of dollars off Discord. Okay. Now
I think Travis is a hero. Travis is a boomer remover.
Oh, what the heck happened? I left. That's okay.
It happens. I mean, I think he was probably drunk at the time. He's mostly harmless. He's not mostly harmless. The guy trains at the gym and then he goes to the range and he does fun shit. But like he's not out there trying to beat up people and I'm the biggest badass in Springfield, Illinois. He ain't doing that. He's just a good guy. And like I think one night he probably had maybe a shot of whiskey. He got on Discord. He's like, I don't want to see this in my feed anymore. Remove. And Shadzar's channel with over 400 links within the past year goes away.
It was amazing. It was horrible. What a shame.
Oh darn! It went away. I
All
wish
the-
I'd known I had mod. I wish I would have known I had mod privs prior to that. I could have taken care of that months ago.
I know you guys don't get along with him, okay? I give him his own place to be because I don't want him to like feel like nobody doesn't want to read stuff. When I get the chance and time, I usually go out and read the links he's got or go to the videos he's got because he highlights something that's going on, and in a weird way, it's reflected on something we talked about before, or this chat has talked about before. So he's throwing other ammunition out there, and I like that. And then he has his own YouTube channel, which isn't that great because he has a female automated voice read everything he scripts out, which is fine. His scripting is good. However, his implementation of it, I don't like the female voice. Just use your regular voice. Even if you sound like a drunken asshole like me, do it your own voice. I think we'd like that better.
You know,
And he'd probably be
This isn't
monetized.
TikTok.
He would probably be monetized and have money coming in if he had his own voice. Now he's going to say that he doesn't have the money for that. His PC is like a 1.2 gigahertz potato from 2004. I can get that. Me and Jade both are running with older equipment here. Maybe the rest of you are as well. I don't know.
I'm running off a
Not
tablet.
anymore.
Say again, Shadow.
I'm running off a tablet. Everything I do is on my tablet.
and Mike,
I mean,
Jay just got an
you could-
update.
Yeah, I just recently updated machines.
Yeah, but your machine you updated with, Jade, is a machine you were using at work for 7 years. Not the necessary new equipment, but you wouldn't consider that to be personal computer. That's almost a mini workstation.
Doing what I do for a living, no, I'd consider it a gaming PC, even today by today's standards.
Okay. But the thing is that when Kai was going on and rambling in his rant about how his players are surveying the land where the keep is and trying to get the ground right so they can put the ballroom in and the stones won't shift, all I could see is that you were having to look through AutoCAD 3D if you were part of that campaign, and you were trying to have to grid out everything. And no, we can't really place it here because the soil is sandy loam. My collegiate degrees and education will tell us we can't have the keep in this location, Kai. We need another castle. And I was just hearing that. I just kept hearing that the whole time that Kai's going over about this stuff. And all of a sudden, your civil engineering expertise pops in, and you pop the bubble, and Kai explodes.
Oh no! You just added more challenges. Plus, you would suddenly have 3 architects all suddenly go, feed information, feed us. How are we going to correct this problem? And then we're going to go into work to figure out how to stabilize soil, and then build and create, because we like it. We like architecture and engineering.
And that's cool. That's really cool. I mean, the London, in London, where the fucking royal palace is, London's a fucking swamp. They built on that.
Yes.
So Chicago, Illinois. So is New Orleans. So is
Chicago, Illinois had the benefit of time. The people, the surveyors of London did not. They were just a bunch of idiots with horrible teeth, and it hasn't changed.
Have you not been up to Chicago?
I try to stay away.
Idiots and horrible teeth.
I get a rash thinking about it.
There's cream for that.
I know.
you moved halfway across the country to get away from Chicago. So
Yeah. And now the rest of the country's turned into Chicago. I want the country to turn into Florida.
All right, everybody. So
Amen,
it
Bruce.
is 10
Amen.
it is 10 o'clock. I do know some of us are going to be turning into pumpkins. So we want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. And Bruce, why don't you take us out?
I want everybody that was involved with our stream tonight to leave here, go out, be excellent to one another, and enjoy yourselves. Hug your kids. Tell your grandparents if they're still alive you love them. Tell your parents that you love them if they're still alive. And if not, have a quiet moment of reflection and understand that those that have passed before you probably would be proud of the person you are today. No matter what problems you're enduring, you're not the first one to go through these issues. Have a great night.
Night, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Have a great weekend.
I